excited about the upcoming season. They're also excited about a quarterback commitment they got this year in Jadyn Davis. And I thought we'd start there. You saw him this summer. Do you remember the first time that you saw or heard about Jadyn Davis?
Yeah, I was going to say the first time I heard about him, he's probably in eighth grade. They're playing in South Carolina. We hear about this up and coming quarterback. Everyone's like, he's already 5'11", 6 foot. He's already physical. He's polished. And then you go see the kid. I think I saw him probably a year later. And yeah, he looks like the biggest eighth, ninth grade quarterback you've ever seen. And then you say, okay, well, if you start projecting this years down the line, this is going to be one of those guys, right? One of those polarizing names that is out there for several years to scout and sometimes over scout, I think, which is an issue in our industry. And here we are 4 years later, and he's coming off of a state title, coming off of the Elite 11 finals as this guy that we've known about for so very long. And I think it just creates a lot relative to that evaluation. You get a first impression that is unanimously positive because you're like, this kid's bigger than everyone. He's already slinging it. He's got velocity on the ball. You could tell there's a maturity there in his build, in how he carries himself. And as he progresses years down the line and plays varsity football, you start to see others sort of catch up to Jadyn Davis. So it's a fascinating evaluation in terms of where we were with him a year or two ago and where he'll be in the final rankings come January, which is obviously still very much to be determined.
Yeah, you saw him this summer at the Elite 11, and they're, you mentioned the over scouting, and, I saw, some different evaluations, and I'd say, I don't know, all over the place, but, mixed reviews with Jadyn Davis. What did you see from Davis throwing at the Elite 11 against the other QBs?
Well, you got the congruence of those initial impressions, right? The build is really strong. I thought he came in right around 200 pounds, 6'1" or so. So very well put together relative to most juniors in high school football. And I thought the velocity looked really strong. I thought his short to intermediate stuff was really great. I thought you could just tell there's this polish, this ball distributor, point guard mentality in this kid. So when it came to spraying the ball around left, right, on the run, in the pocket, you could see the comfort. You could see the maturity there. I think where the opinions became a little bit more polarizing were when the kids were supposed to be uncomfortable. That's what the Elite 11 is all about, is making you go against the grain, rolling to your left, throwing across your body, throwing on time, 400 throws a day, whatever it is. It's designed to sort of wear you down. So I thought that's where you could see the opinions start to go up and down with really every quarterback. But I think Davis came in with such lofty expectations compared to most, to where you're almost already starting at the top and trying to peg him down thereafter. But again, the velocity looked good. I thought his ball distribution was phenomenal, up and down the field. But I think everybody had sort of those moments, particularly in the pro day workout, which is really the most scrutinized and even over scrutinized workout. I mean, I chart all 400 throws of that workout. So, I mean, I'm way too nitpicky than I probably should be on an event like that. But we do get to see some variance between the passers in that regard. And I think the other inhibitor for Jadyn was throwing motion. He brings the ball a little bit further back than most quarterbacks, and he releases it a little bit lower than most quarterbacks. So at 6 foot, 6'1", it just creates a little bit of, the first time you do see it live or the next time you see it live, compared to some of the more classic over-the-top deliveries or three-quarter deliveries that we get across the country.
Yeah, and I could see if I put, 25 analysts or gurus, whatever you want to say, watching quarterbacks, once you talk about the size, you're going to look at the motion. And if it looks a little different, like, and you said, a classic delivery, I want you, like if this was 4 or 5 years ago, I think if I was there and the delivery looked a little different, I might be freaking out myself. But what I've seen is, since Mahomes has really taken over and changed the game in the pros, that there's a lot of sidearm, different deliveries, different platforms. And he looks like, watching some of his tape in games, that he does that. I don't really notice. I didn't see at the Elite 11. Has his motion changed, or when you look at his junior tape, can you still see what you're talking about what you saw this summer, maybe the, different release point or whatever?
Yeah, look, I think every setting demands, different abilities from these kids. If you are in a competitive setting like the Elite 11 and you want to put a little bit more juice on the ball, maybe you do drop the arm angle a little more. Maybe you feel more comfortable coming from your midsection than up here at different times. You can't really put too much into those things. I remember a couple years ago, Tyler Buckner had an awful Elite 11. His motion was so funky, and everybody was like, "What happened? This is a great quarterback," and he corrected it. So I do think you take it for what it's worth. But look, if you're going back to the junior tape, which let's remind everyone is the foundation of every evaluation. I don't want to make it seem like we're putting too much stock in the off-season events, although seeing them throw together is certainly important. You go back to the junior tape, you do see a little bit more conventional three-quarter delivery. You're stepping up in the pocket, the timing really strong with Jadyn Davis. I mean, look, you can't put up, 3,000 yards, 72% completion percentage without being on time, especially in a Chad Greer offense down there in North Carolina. So he's checking most of the boxes. And look, he's still a five-star for us at Rivals. I think we've probably got him ranked as high as anybody does in the industry for a reason. So you want to take the events and the settings for what they are, but you also want to kind of put it in a big body of work. So again, with Davis, we get this variance over 3 or 4 years as opposed to other passers that were only scouting for 12 months. So we get to over scout in some capacity with a Jadyn Davis type because he was so heralded so young. And then maybe when we do see the variance in the throwing motion, it throws us off maybe more than it would for a guy who's a little bit newer to our radar.